A Lloydminster resident is facing several charges after RCMP received reports of a man exposing himself to passing motorists in the area of 75th Ave and 42nd Street on September 29th. When police arrived on scene, the man fled but was arrested a short time later. The charges include 2 counts of indecent acts, causing a disturbance and resisting arrest. Police are still investigating this and similar incidents in the city. If you have any information, please call the Lloydminster RCMP. And emergency responders and businesses from across the prairies are better prepared for extreme flooding after a presentation during the Bordering on Disaster conference. Researchers found that after 2013 Calgary flood, many people were unaware of the risk they were in.
50% of people who ultimately flooded during the event didn't know that their home was at risk of flooding prior to the flood.
And once the danger became apparent, many people didn't find out their neighborhood was under an evacuation order until a public official was knocking at their door.
It wasn't social media, it wasn't the news media, it wasn't by and large family and friends, it was face-to-face contact with emergency managers or first responders.
Even when they knew of the danger, some residents stayed behind, partly because they either didn't trust the warnings, were waiting for family members, had no place to go, or simply wanted to see how it all played out.
I think there's a lot of opportunity for, community liaisons and people who are trusted members of neighborhoods and communities to reach out to people and communicate risk to them in a way that maybe public officials are not able to do.
The research found that only 2/3 of those with evacuation orders left their homes. Well, the long weekend is a time to celebrate with friends and family, but RCMP are reminding drivers to be safe and avoid drinking and driving.
Anytime that there is a long weekend, we do look for certain behaviors, especially on a time when people start to get together and alcohol might be a factor.
Check stops will be set up over the weekend, a reminder that police will not tolerate any kind of reckless driving.
Throughout the long weekend, there will be a lot of enforcement on the roads, both Saskatchewan and Alberta. We will absolutely be out making sure and ensuring that people are following those rules and keeping everybody safe.
When it comes to transportation over the long weekend, Constable Kersinger is reminding people it's important to plan ahead.
Seeing the potential issues and making plans for those so that you don't get caught in a last-minute decision when you are impaired, trying to make that logical choice.
While the snow is not on the ground yet, but what you do now could save you money over the winter. In this week's Agriculture Report, Gerard Lampow learns about the benefits of corn grazing.
It's very high in energy, and so the cattle maintain their body condition really well.
As winter approaches, cattle producer Lance Leachman has about 140 cows just north of Maidstone. He has about 20 acres of corn and estimates he saves about 25% of feeding costs using corn.
A lot of people, they figure you can winter cows for under $1 a day with corn.
This is a crop that actually exceeds the nutrient requirements of a beef cow in first, second trimester of pregnancy. Some cases in our cold winter months, there may not be a need to add additional energy supplementation.
Corn is a high input cost crop. With the availability of more varieties, the research is showing you can reduce costs per day by corn grazing as a winter feeding option. Dr. Bart Ladner with the Western Beef Development Centre in Saskatchewan has been doing research on the benefits of corn grazing for several years.
Cattle are very selective and they'll pick out the tastier parts of the plant, hence the cob, which has a lot of starch. If cows are allowed to go out there and access and utilize just cobs, there's going to be a rumen acidosis issue. And so we're always trying to say maybe that crop first killing frost would be at that maybe half milk line. So we get a balance of starch and fiber per acre.
Ladner recommends that balance be about 50% starch and 50% fiber. The Western Beef Development Centre is also looking at ways to reduce rumen acidosis.
We've done some research looking at 3 versus 9 day with or without a fiber source. And so fiber source, maybe an older hay, lower quality hay, or maybe a straw bale, just will help mitigate that potential for rumen acidosis and buffer that rumen to not have that pH drop and cause those digestive upsets.
Ladner says give the cows 7 to 10 days to adjust to the switch from pasture to corn grazing. Start small and do your homework by checking with your agronomist. Gerard Lampow, Newcap News.
This is Newcap Sports.
Well, the high school volleyball season is ramping up in the border city with the home tournament just around the corner. However, a new camp on Sundays this fall could have major implications on the sport in Lloydminster for years to come. Josh Ryan has more.
Brad Johnston had modest expectations of how many grades 5 to 7 students would participate in his Little Raiders weekly volleyball camp.
We were hoping to get 30 and got 85. Created some logistics problems, but I'm really lucky. I've got a ton of coaches that are willing to help out.
The idea is to establish a baseline of skills in kids that normally don't play the sport until they're 13 or 14.
And the competitive nature of senior volleyball and club volleyball, that's too late. And so this was an option to get them involved earlier and hopefully like the sport and want to continue.
Starting them young is a big thing. They don't have any bad habits or anything, so we can fix and get them started now.
They receive instruction on all basic movements with the goal of being able to play a full match at the end of 8 weeks. There's plenty of socialization benefits as well, with the relaxed atmosphere and the sessions being co-ed.
There's like extra players, and sometimes you can just play for fun instead of having to play competitively.
Among the volunteer coaches are several Holy Rosary athletes who get to appreciate a different view of the game.
I find myself saying what coaches have said to me already, and I'm repeating them. It's funny.
The camp was just offered to separate school division kids, but Johnston thinks there's a possibility of going citywide next year.
We'll run multiple sessions if we have enough coaches. We are thinking about maybe dropping it a year so that grade 4s can play also. All kinds of stuff really depends on numbers and coaches and gym space.
And based on the response of the kids, Little Raiders is already experiencing some success.
You get to be around everybody, and just playing the game is really awesome.
Josh Ryan, Newcap Sports.